That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Rockwell timepiece says it's time. So come on in and stay a while. It's time to get coached up with another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show. Rockwell is a proud partner of the Coach Scott Field Show, and I'm a proud brand ambassador. Go to rockwelltime.com. Use the code COACH20 and get 20% off of any order. Great looking timepieces, great looking merch. So support my friends there with Rockwell. Like and follow the Coach Scott Field Show on our Facebook page. Also, smash that subscribe button to our YouTube channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, my buddy Nathan and I say turn that knob up. We're about to put that flavor in your ear. Watch us on DBTV Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, where we can be seen in over 300 million households around the globe. Also, watch us on CSTV Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and the Rewind Sports 60. Appreciate your continued support. So, without further ado, let's welcome in my man Nathan. Nathan, welcome to the Coach Scott Field Show, my friend.
Thank you, Coach. Glad to be here.
Thrilled to have you. What you do intrigues me. So I want you to introduce yourself and kind of tell the viewers what you do.
So what I do is I'm a Neuro Skills coach, and I guess what that is basically working on the brain training. It is pretty big in basketball. I'm sure we're going to talk basketball, but it's big in all sports. I mean, Tom Brady's been doing it for about 11 years. Steph Curry's been doing it for even longer, so about 12 years now. And neuro is basically working on that brain to body connection. It's not really just mental skills. It's actually doing drills that speeds up the brain processing speed. You start seeing patterns on the court or on the field, and you're just working on that body awareness, spatial awareness, proprioceptive skills, vestibular skills, all these brain body skills.
I like that. And now this is not just for athletes. I'm talking business executives can utilize this.
Yeah.
Is it a visualization tool, or is it just training the brain to kind of get your brain flex to kind of help the body achieve the goals that are desired?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you just said. It's not, I mean, there's an element of visualization. You got to have that, and you got to have an element of mental skills, but it's straight up drills, right? And so for the athletes, like basketball players, are going to have basketball specific drills that they do, along with figuring out the patterns on the court and putting all this into your subconscious mind. Now, a business executive, I call it brain blueprints, so brain prints. So what we're doing is we're imprinting this into your subconscious mind, and then we're fusing it in with some sensory fusion. Sounds a little confusing, but all this stuff it's putting it into your subconscious mind, so you just don't have to think about it. You just automatically, you're on autopilot, doing your business, doing your sports, whatever it is, very quick and very efficiently and easily,
I've been blessed that, I've been able to coach at the highest levels in the NBA. I've worked with Steph Curry when he was just a rookie. I've been around the globe being a head coach. And I was big into visualization. I was big into, a lot of repetition and going at game speed. And it sounds like you utilize a lot of the tools that we were trying to reinforce, so that athletes can put themselves in that zone. You hear broadcasters say, oh, he's in the zone. Can you describe what that is?
Yeah, the flow state. So basically, we're doing drills every day in the flow state. And so what they're doing is, whether it's a half hour or an hour a day, it depends on, how dedicated that person is towards these drills. They're putting themselves in that flow state, and so they can just snap into it, right? So if you practice it every day, you know how to get into the flow state. But if you're just hoping to hopefully jump into the flow state, it's not going to happen very often.
It's not going to happen. I like that. So we'll slow it down for the viewers. Let's say I'm a business owner. I contact you and I say, Nathan, I'm in a Fortune 500 company. Our quarterly numbers haven't been great. How can I become a better leader? Take me through the process that you would take a client to help them achieve positive outcomes and results for not only themselves, but also their company.
Right. Okay. So, great example. Just worked with the North American Executive Board of Kingspan, and they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. The president and all his VPs got on board, and they worked on this, and they were doing the brain prints every day. They were doing the, the sensory fusion, all that. And what it does really is it helps them solve problems, make better decisions as a team, and structure their team. Like each and every VP was telling me that they knew how to structure, and make the most out of their team members. Each of them have their own teams, and so what they're doing essentially is just sort of mapping out their company, their goals, and seeing it all and putting it into sort of an autopilot way, because our subconscious mind is made up of routes and destinations, and so that's kind of what we're doing with the brain prints, and we're putting all of this into the subconscious mind, and then we're fusing it in with the sensory. And yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of testimonials on the website of people just talking, but they're just telling you basically, I was able to work faster. I was more efficient, right? Like it took me half the time to do my work. I was able to structure my team so they were efficient, and there was more, synergy between team members, and things were happening, right? So a lot of it is proprietary, right? I can't just sit down and just kind of show you how we do all this, but I think you get a pretty good idea by understanding that it's, it's like I said, with the routes and the destinations, it's a lot of paper pencil tasks. And then with the sensory, it's a little more like body integration. I'll give you an example. So music is one of our senses, and it's been proven in science that that it crosses the corpus callosum, it branches into more areas of the brain. And so music is one of the many different things that we use to infuse this into the mind. So the brain prints are in effect, if that makes sense.
It's fascinating to me because we're talking about brain prints and mapping.
Yeah.
I mean, just like an athlete will condition his body. Basically, you're conditioning the brain so the brain can relax and let the body do what it does naturally from years and years of repetition and muscle memory. Am I hitting the nail on the head, or am
Yeah.
I way off?
No, that was it. Yeah. So you're learning new things too. But what you're doing is you're putting all the things, the aha moments. Hopefully, you're getting lots of aha moments while you're doing neuro, but you're putting that into your subconscious mind so you don't have to think about it. So I'll give you an example. I work with a lot of major league players. So let's just take a hitter, for example. They they map out these pictures, and they imprint their patterns into their brains. And so they know, this pitcher has 5 pitches, and it's not like they know that a slider is coming, but they've understood the sequences so well, and they've infused it into their brain so well that as that pitcher is releasing the pitch, they can just see the slider for once in their life. Now they finally can just see it coming out of their hands, and then they can track it subconsciously, and they're hitting better. Their barrel percentage goes up, and I don't know if you've looked at all the different results on my site, but I mean, Nick Gonzalez, he's a college baseball player. He was collegiate baseball's player of the year after doing this, and he led college baseball in 6 different, or it might have been 5 different categories of D1 baseball, right? And he was the player of the year. And long flyouts were going over the fence and becoming home runs because his processing speed also went up. So when your processing speed goes up, your velo goes up. Today I've talked to 2 different pitchers. One of them told me he went up 3 miles an hour in his velo. The other pitcher told me, well, you work with this major league guy, right? Well, they just had an article on him and on how his velo went up from like, 92 to 96. And so that, I guess
Wow.
that's a good 4 miles an hour. And he's in this picture, the third one that I'm talking about that I was talking to today, he's only been doing it for 3 weeks, and he's
Wow.
already made huge adjustments in his delivery, and so he knows exactly where to release now to get more power. So there's a lot of body awareness and processing speed. There's a lot of different things going on, if that makes
That's
sense.
it's amazing because we in sports we always say father time is undefeated, but the great ones know how to slow it down. So
Yeah,
when the game slows down and they're able to process these things, and obviously their neuro skills and neuroscience backs up how they're able to process these split second decisions quicker to help them have those positive outcomes like you're talking the pitcher and the batter, just like a quarterback, going through his progressions, reading the defenses. And I'm assuming that when they're able to slow that down, that's how their productivity increases, which means their outcomes increases. Again, am I close? Or again, help me understand it better.
exactly. When you have faster processing speed, everything else slows down, and when you have better pattern recognition, you're seeing those patterns. And so let's talk basketball for a second. I mean, that's your sport. I work with a ton of basketball players, and what they tell me all the time is they're able to see things happen before it happens, right? And so they're able to. So point guards do really well with this, right? And they're able to read the plays and know exactly who to pass to get all the assists. And um,
Right. That spatial awareness that you're
yeah,
talking
that
about, the
spatial
court
awareness.
awareness. Yes.
Yeah, and the processing speed, everything slows down, so it's like it's in slow mo. Back to the baseball hitters, I've had so many tell me that it's just like a beach ball coming at them instead of this blur, because they can just see it, right?
Right.
And yeah, so yeah, that's one thing. And then as I talk about basketball, one of the biggest things too is body awareness. So body awareness is understanding your mechanics at a deeper level, not just correcting mistakes, but understanding where that sweet spot is. And we have a lot of players that are improving their free throw percentage, their 3-point percentage, and all that. So yeah.
See, again, this stuff is fascinating to me, and that's why I wanted to have you be a guest on this show. We've had NBA All Stars, we've had, Hall of Famers, we've had front office executives, we've had players come on, we've had journalists come on, but to have someone like you who specializes in their expertise in teaching biorhythms, biomechanics, but yet having that neural connection to
Yeah.
have everything flowing for them. So that way, I mean, think about it. We're describing a baseball pitcher who's throwing a pitch at 98 mile per hour, and yet they're able to slow it down so they're reading the seams coming at them at 98 miles per hour so they know what pitch it is. So that way, they can have the muscle mechanics and muscle memory to swing through to have that bat or barrel have it connect where it needs to hit that soft spot to increase their percentages. Because in baseball, you know, 70% of the time they fail, but if someone's at 300, batting
Right.
300, they're having great success. So to me,
Exactly.
it's fascinating to me to hear how you can break that down mechanically, but also know that that visualization and that neural mapping that you're talking about helps them process those things so much quicker.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
you hit the nail on the head. That was good.
I love it. So, but we got to slow it down for the viewers because I want to
Sure.
educate the viewers.
Right.
Help the viewer understand what it is you do and how you help them map that out from the neuroscience to the body mechanics because there's a connect there. Like you say,
Right.
the synergy from mind and body to help them have those outcomes. How can we slow that down to help them understand how you're helping them get better outcomes?
Okay, great. Yeah. So I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I work with athletes all over the world. So from Europe to Australia. So we do a Zoom call, and I teach them new drills that they've never heard of before, and they'll do them by themselves for 5 days a week. So I
So
just
it's
say,
like a homework assignment. You're
yeah,
giving
yeah,
them something to do repetitively that they can succeed at. So that way you slow it down and you teach it step by step then.
Exactly. And so they're 5 days a week. I say just knock it out weekdays, take the weekends off and relax, right? Don't even think about it. So they knock it out 5 days weekly by themselves. And then the next time they meet with me, I say, show me the drills. What are you doing? And we talk about it and they show me, and that's where I can correct them.
Wow.
And and so and then I think that was sort of a two-part question, because you were saying, how does that really work? So what they're doing is I'm teaching them, and this isn't all of it. There's about 4 or 5 different drills that they're doing in a half hour to an hour, right?
Wow.
But the two that you were talking about, how do they get that? How do they map that into their brain? And then how do they infuse that into their brain? So the brain maps. So basically those, it depends on the sport, right? Or the executive, right? It depends. So we customize that usually, right? And
Right, right.
I
For
can
each
kind of
individual.
Right, exactly. I can kind of cookie cutter it a little bit. So in other words, if there's a business executive and he's like, I want my sales team to do a lot better, right? I can make sort of a program for the sales team, but for the top executive, for the president, I'm going to say, we're going to meet one-on-one. I'm going to teach you exactly how we're going, how you're going to get that for your sales team. And they map it out and they understand, okay, this is what my sales team needs. And then the sales team has sort of more of a cookie cutter program, and I can get all of them on a group call,
Right.
whereas I'm doing a one-on-one with a business executive. So all major leaguers obviously get the customized program, but I
Right.
have, I have team programs for, like, college, high school teams, things like that I can do. Um, and where was I going? Oh yeah. And so once they once they've brain imprinted that into their brains, we're going to fuse it sensory wise, like you said, there's got to be some visualization attached, but what we're doing is we're doing it with with the senses, and we're infusing it into the brain. Like I said with music, I don't want to give all the different
Yep.
ways away. There's a ton of different ways that we do this,
Yeah.
but we've got to, it's not just what you do, it's how you do it. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? That it
Yep.
infuses
Yep.
it into your brain. So that's yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I know it's still kind of vague. You kind of have to do the
No.
program to understand fully
Right,
what's happening.
right. Well, and I like how you talked about, we're talking about senses and sensory, and you've talked about how music is one of those things because we can all remember a song and it takes us back to a certain place.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that senses is the same with sight and smell. There's going to be certain things that's going to trigger, that's going to enhance us. And I'm sure each individual is going to have a different sensor that is going to help them be more successful, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I mean, you've you've got to use all, so as many senses as possible, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Is going to be effective. And then there's other things too, right? So for the athletes, we have drills that they do that actually produce body awareness, or processing speed if it's reaction time. Very interestingly, I've been working with all these different sports, and I had a swimmer come to me, and I'm like, well, I'd love to crack the swim code, but it's, can we do this? And so, in fact, she goes to a school very close to where you live. She goes to BYU.
Oh,
Um, and she, since doing neuro, she's had 3 personal best records of her whole
wow.
career. And she's only been doing this about 10 weeks. And, and people are like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm just doing neuro. I haven't changed anything physically. And how did that was a hard thing to do, was to crack the swim code, because it's more about just speeding up processing speed and figuring out that. And
Wow.
yeah, it was like we did it together, and we had to brainstorm together to figure it out, because it's so different than all these other sports that I work with. But it's neuro, yeah, it can do that. It can work with runners, and so I'm excited. Just recently started working with he came in 4th in the world for the 800 indoor 800. So he's one of those top runners, and so we're going to see if he can break a world record.
Wow. That's fascinating. So when you're working with these athletes,
Yeah.
Do you video record them? Can you see the mechanics? Are there certain adjustments that you're making in their mechanics along with the neuro skill that you're teaching them?
Yeah, yeah. So there's efficiency in their mechanics, and
Yes.
so especially with the swimmer and the
Yeah,
runner, right?
yeah.
No, but
Coming off the blocks or maybe their turns, and that's
mhm,
fascinating to me. So,
yeah,
like, let's go back to our baseball player. Let's
okay,
say they're a hitter. Are you like where their hips are? And again, I'm not a baseball guy, even though I
yeah,
played baseball when I was younger. So they're recorded. You're giving them things to correct with their mechanics. You're giving them these drills that they can do with repetition to make corrections in their mechanics. Is that correct?
yeah. But it's so I don't interfere with their coaches because I would
Yeah.
get in a lot of trouble if I'm like saying, no, you got to hit like this, and
Yeah, right.
their hitting coach is telling them to do something else. Um, but what they're doing is they're getting a lot of body awareness with my drills, and they're making their own adjustments. And so I have a lot of
Wow.
people just saying, it's incredible. I just made it. And in fact, that one of the pitchers today, he's like, I just made an adjustment that, I've been trying to make forever. Right. And he's a professional pitcher. He's
That's
making an
awesome.
adjustment. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's what is really happening. And I always say, neuro is the great enhancer. It's not the end all, right? Like you have to keep working with your coaches. It takes guys like you, Scott, that teach them how to play basketball, right? And
Yep.
neuro is like this, their brain becomes a sponge, and everything that Coach Scott teaches them all of a sudden makes sense, and all of a sudden they become your golden player, right? They understand it and they get it. Does that make
Right.
sense? Yeah.
Yes. So do you collaborate a lot with the coaches, or do the coaches, I'm sure they're aware that you're working with them, but
Yeah.
they don't know what your specialty is, but yet they probably see improvements because if I'm a major league pitcher and I'm throwing my heater at 96 and all of a sudden I've increased it to 99,
Right.
okay, yeah, there's that aha moment.
Right.
Are the coaches thrilled to have your services? Do they seek you out? Do you collaborate, or do you kind of pick their brain to kind of get specifics on that individual? How does that process work?
Yeah, no, coaches are interesting because they love the results, and I'll talk to them, and they're like, just keep doing what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
Like,
wherever they can get the help, just let's help us, right?
yeah, I was actually talking to one hitting coach with the A's, and I told him that I was working with a player. He's like, "You're kidding? No wonder, he picks up everything I tell him." Um, but it's really like I don't even need to know what the coaches teach. I need to teach them how to be a sponge, and I teach players how to be a sponge, how to understand their body, and then they make their own adjustments, and then their coaches are like, it makes the
Wow.
coaches feel great because they're like, "Oh, I'm doing a good job." I,
Stroking their egos a little bit, like
yeah.
look where we're at. The coaches don't care how they're going to get results, but if you make their players better, that makes them better coaches. Oh my
Right.
gosh, it's a win-win all the way around.
Exactly. And I never think that neuro takes the place. It's really the coaches, it's what the coaches are teaching that makes the player keep getting better. But when they're doing neuro, they're ready to, take and absorb everything that you're teaching them.
I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my buddy Nathan, a neuro skills coach. This is one on one with the coach. Sleep Number is another proud partner. Give my buddy Todd a call, 801 845 9058 for a better restful sleep, which is temperature controlled, it's weightless, it's wonderful. And I'm sure having better rest will also enhance neuro skills. Would that, again, am I hitting that on the head?
Oh yeah, yeah. So we talk about sleep hygiene and all that. You got to have great health because it affects your processing speed. It affects all of it. Um, yeah, and so that's kind of a separate thing, and that's part of my secret weapon with my company is that I have my wife on board because she's an internationally certified nutrition specialist and
Wow.
fitness trainer and all this other stuff. So she'll talk to, like I told you, I work with major league all-stars, guys, very high profile people, and they'll talk to my wife and figure out their food and their sleep and what's getting in
Wow.
the way. And, and if it's too much blue light late at night, that's the kind of stuff she teaches them. And
Wow.
maybe
When you say
we
blue light, that's like looking at computers or looking at your phones or, TVs running, before you're falling asleep. It again, is that am I
yeah,
assuming
yeah.
that's
She knows more than I do, but she'll I think, an hour at least you got to give yourself before you go to bed. So, because blue light's like sunshine, right? How are you supposed to sleep if it's still sunny out, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right. Wow. And see, that's fascinating to me. And again, without giving away the whole entree, just to give a piece, are there certain foods that are definite no-nos for athletes that who are trying to get a better rest? I'm sure you got to stay away from caffeine, but are there other
Yeah.
stimulants or things that can help the brain calm down, or exercises you can do to help a person, get into that REM sleep mode quicker?
That's a great question. We should get my wife on the show, but um, from what I know, because I hear things all the time, I have less carbs and sugar at night because I don't want that to affect my sleep, more protein and stuff like that. But, I don't pretend that I'm the expert on that. I
There
don't
you go.
have any.
That's her lane.
Yeah,
You're,
yeah,
you're going to stick with the neuro end of it.
exactly.
Wow. See, but again, I love the conversation because things can be broken down scientifically, where you hear coaches talk about, well, there's an analytics to it, but if you take that analytics that can enhance you to make a better decision in certain times of the game, that's a positive. And if there are ways that we can connect with our athletes and know and understand what's going on neurologically, then that maybe we can help increase their productivity in
Yeah.
their certain sport if we had a better feel of what was going on neurologically with these individual athletes.
Yeah, yeah. And we all have needs neurologically. I mean, some more than others, obviously, like someone with a brain injury, but all of us can improve processing speed. All of us
Right.
can improve the patterns that we see in our sport or in our business. And so there's a lot that can be done, even with the smartest people. And if Elon Musk is is listening, like I could help him with his mission to Mars, or all the things he's working
Wow.
on. So it's like there's
Wow.
a lot that anyone can learn with pattern recognition and all this other stuff. Right.
So when you say pattern recognition, describe what that means.
Is there's patterns in everything, and the more patterns we can pick up, the wiser we'll be able to make decisions, and more quickly as well. um, so they've done studies and they found that the greatest pattern recognition is in the old wise man or the old wise woman, right? So why? Because they've had more life experience, the ones that have applied themselves. So not someone who's just kind of sitting around watching TV, but someone
Right.
who
And repeating the same mistake over and over.
right, right. Someone who's learning new skills all the time. They have the best pattern. So think of like a Mr. Miyagi, right? That's what you want. You want to be a young wise man or woman in your sport and or in the business world, right?
See,
So
and again, I like that because how many times have you heard individuals say, I wish I knew now, you know, what I learned, 15 years later. Because if they can become a better athlete and train their mind to have positive outcomes, train their body to have successes and not, how to recover quicker from injuries, is that also a part of what you do if there is an injury? Because you mentioned, TBI and things like that. Is that part of the process that you can help them with or have a quicker recovery time?
that's something that is really something that I'd like to keep working on. I know that it's possible. I think it's you hear about some people can heal themselves faster, and there's a lot of neurological elements to it. I just haven't done enough studies. I'm not an
Yeah.
expert on it yet. I hope to be, but that could be definitely a big part of it one day is healing quicker.
Well, because you always hear that the power of the mind. If you can
Right,
conceive it, believe it, you will achieve it. And so that's
right,
where that visualization piece comes in. But with neuro skills, and you think about a professional football player who's had multiple concussions, if you're able to help them understand why the connection from body or brain to body, and maybe that reaction time is a little bit slower, but yet if you help them holistically heal or
right.
make an adjustment so that way their reaction time is quicker, they're going to have a better outcome. So understanding that connection to mind and body has got to be part of that process that you talk about, because if
Yeah,
these athletes, once they're doing these drills that you're giving them, are able to make minor corrections just within those drills and with the homework that you give them. I mean, it's a win-win all the way around.
Yeah, yeah. And now that you mentioned that, yeah, there is sort of a healing element because I mean, a lot of the neuro skills have a foundation in neuro rehabilitation. And you look at like um, brain injuries, stroke, those patients, there's a lot of things that they can do to get better. Now, not all the way,
Yep, yep.
but make new connections, right?
Yeah,
So if you have a blockage in your brain and there's an injury right here, uh, making a new pathway that goes around it so you can still get things done in a different way. You're not your old self, but you could be a new, better self, right? So
I
that's
like that.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so I mean, so what I hear, I mean, you can even help people with just quality of life. You know,
right.
how to live happier, how to, reward themselves for tiny accomplishments and achievements. Because to me, whether it's personal or professional, neuro skills and neuroscience, if utilized the right way, is such a great tool.
Yeah, that was a really good comment because we've seen so many positive side effects from doing neuro. I mean, just these
Yeah.
athletes, and all of a sudden their relationships get better. I've had a few athletes that, and the FDA would hate me if well,
Oh, of course, yeah, because that's a multi-billion-dollar industry. They don't want that
I'm not
established.
saying do neuro and get off prescription drugs,
Yep.
but I've
Yep.
had clients do that, and
Yeah,
I've had
especially if you utilize both of them effectively, then you
right,
can
right, right. And
quicker outcomes.
I'm not saying prescription drugs are bad.
Yep.
They're definitely necessary at certain points. But if someone can all of a sudden, figure things out and not be as depressed or not have as much struggle with attention, because attention is a neuro skill, and I work on all four areas of attention. Then all of a sudden they
Wow.
figure out their attention, and they don't have to.
Well, let's speak on that for a minute. What
Yeah,
are those areas of attention? Because if a person can stay focused and stay on task longer, of course they're going to have better outcomes. But how do they redirect themselves if they've lost that attention to detail and focus?
so we work on attention skills during every drill, right? And so
Okay.
we're working on selective attention, that's eliminating distracting background noise. So staying locked in, not getting distracted with what is my coach thinking right now, or
Yeah.
what's the fan heckling, right? So that's selective attention. Divided attention is multitasking. That's almost every sport, and so we're working on that with the drills, and of course you're working on that when you play sports anyway.
Yeah.
um, there's sustained attention, so staying locked in for the full game, very important attention skill right there.
Yeah.
And then alternating attention, that's easy to talk about with basketball. So switching from offense to defense, right? Like I just missed the shot. Am I still thinking about that while I'm on defense? And then I let the guy blow past me because I'm still thinking about something stupid.
Yeah, because you're beating yourself up because you're
Right.
frustrated that you didn't accomplish that in that you let one mistake turn into two mistakes, turn into three mistakes, and
Exactly.
that's a pet peeve of a coach.
Yeah.
Focus and be in the here and now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You probably know a lot about that as a coach.
uh, that's why I'm enjoying this conversation because there's kind of a method to the madness. And coaches, for years, preach certain things, but if we can utilize someone like you to help the player understand or help the athlete or as an executive to help the employee be better skilled and better tooled. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I just can't see why more people don't utilize these types of programs to help them enhance what they've already done. Because if you could take someone who is at 85% and get them to, 88%, that's still a positive step in the right direction. And that needs
Exactly.
to be rewarded.
Exactly. I think the only reason it's not as well utilized is because people don't know about it. It's so
The
this
awareness.
is the awareness. Yeah, and the great thing about my program with everything except for baseball and hockey. So I have a bunch of superstar baseball and hockey players, and so the program price is up. But with basketball and all the others, I mean, I work with a lot of college athletes, but I don't have anyone in the NBA yet, and that brings the cost of the program down. So anyone who's a basketball player or any sport besides baseball and hockey, it's a very affordable program working with me, and so it's definitely worth talking to me and finding out how inexpensive the program is, because I have to have more players to be able to build that up and have NBA players. And that's how I did it with baseball. That's how I did it with hockey, right?
I love it. So, how can the viewers reach you? How can they connect with you? How can they find you?
Yeah, so I have a website called neuroskillscoach.com. So it's just neuroskillscoach.com, and obviously just contact me right there, set up an appointment. And you can actually just on that website just set up a time into my calendar, and we can talk.
I
And it's
like
very
that.
affordable, very like for a high school or college basketball player, it's unbelievably affordable, and it will up their game,
I
incredibly.
like that. And you'll customize it for them individually once you
Exactly.
kind of go through that process and do your intake and kind of find out more about that individual, I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then to collaborate with your wife to get
Yeah.
on the, nutrition end of it.
Yep.
And I mean, to me, if a person can holistically identify what they're doing and be able to coach themselves to help them be better for each and every practice or each and every business meeting. How can that not be a win-win for you?
Exactly. Yeah, no, well said.
See, I like that. So we've got a few minutes here. Let's give like some testimonials. Give the people some feedback because so many people out there are so visually driven because of probably because of all the resources that they have available to them, and whether it's YouTube or coaching. You know, Share stories with the viewers to help them understand how you can better help them be a better version of themselves.
Okay. Well, I think one of the best stories is a goalie in the NHL. So he was a third string goalie with the Carolina Hurricanes, and third string. So he for 3 straight seasons he only got in a few games here and there,
Yeah.
and he did neuro with me over the pandemic, and so he had an extra long off season. In fact, he did 6 months straight of neuro.
Wow.
And so when he came in, he was just on fire in training camp. They're like, "Whoa, why don't we start this guy?" And he led the whole NHL in 4 different categories. So he led like
That's
he had,
amazing.
he had the
Wow.
highest save percentage, which is the most important category for a goalie. And he came in third on the Calder Trophy. So he's one of the biggest names in hockey now. And I have him, on the website talking about, it changed with neuro. I mean, that's really what
Right.
it took, right?
So when I hear you say that story, I'm thinking of a goalie. I've got the equipment on, I've got the mask on, I've got slap shots coming at me at over 100 mph.
Yeah.
You've probably able to help him again, slow that process down to where they can see where that pass is going to come from so he can get himself into position, get his body in position, and see that puck coming at him slower. So that way he can either, make the block or deflection or, give direction to a defensive man so they can start the break going the other way. And to me, when you break it down like that, it becomes more clear to be like, okay, if I can slow this game down to be where I need to be, I'm going to be more effective.
Exactly. So the game slows down. He sees the patterns unfolding in front of him. And he also knows intuitively, like, okay, there's 3 players here. That player has the puck. If by the time they get here, that player over there has to have the puck. So I'm setting up over here. And so he just
Wow.
goes into that position. And then of course he's faster. So when the puck is hit, he's just, like
He's
catching
in
that
place.
puck.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's in place. And see, I like that because I think that's a great description. Now, break that down with a business owner. Let's say you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. How do you disseminate the information taken from you to get it to his staff so that way there's that trickle down effect to where they're going to be getting better managers, better salespeople, better, frontline people within an organization. Break that down for a business executive who's listening right now or watching.
Yeah, so he's figuring out all the different areas of his company, and he can't do everything. I mean,
Yep.
some people have to if they have a really
Yep.
small business, and we do work with that as well. We've had some success, but basically, if he's a big business owner, he's it's more general, and then he's able to map like, well, this is what I would like each,
Yeah,
division
so
working on.
like a coach, he can break down a role, identify the role,
Right.
delegate responsibility to
Yeah.
make his workload easier, and then be able to say, okay, take these people for their strengths, let them do their strengths. Then that way he can sit back and be a better mentor and guide of that CEO where productivity is going to increase, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we have is people are more efficient, and they're more well organized, and they make better decisions, and that's why productivity, when you have efficiency, like, you can double your efficiency, so get things done in half the time. um,
Wow.
and then, making all the right decisions, and delegating to the right people, and, like, it's just everyone's just more organized, and they're utilizing other people's talents, people in their division, and it starts from the top down. It's great when I can get the CEO or the president to do it, which I did with Kingspan, and he was able to see exactly how it worked, and he was very happy with the results. We have a testimonial of him saying, "I'm very happy because it not only helped me, but I could see how it was helping every member of my team." And each one had, different good things to say about how it helped their team. So
See,
the
I
meetings.
like that because what I hear you saying is they become problem solvers quicker. They're making business and executive decisions quicker. They're able to delegate responsibilities quicker. They're able to identify, here's a problem area. Let's make sure we, turn that in and flip it around to where we can get that productivity and those numbers better for us.
Right, and they work together when they're in meetings. Like, there's a cohesion, there's a synergy that's
The
happening.
synergy, yes, yeah.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of elements, because, oh, even just like your processing speed. And you think, why do you need that in business? Well, if I have a train of thought going, and I want to keep brainstorming and working on a train of thought, if my processing speed is slow, then I've lost my train of thought, and I'm like, oh, where was I going with that? Right? If my processing speed is fast, I mean, I'm able to keep going on that train and go deeper and deeper and deeper into what I was trying to get at. Does that make
See
sense?
it.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It's resonating with me. And I'm thinking about if a person is having success with their business, or if they're having success on the field or the court, whatever their choosing, occupation is or sport is, I'm thinking too, that's going to help them with their personal relationships because they're fulfilled professionally, that their profession or their personal life is also going to be fulfilling, and they're probably able to be a better person and have better relationships, off the court.
Yeah. Yeah. So relationships, and I think I touched on that for a second, but really, like, people saying, especially like the younger, athletes, like pro athletes, they're like, oh, my relationship with my family is getting so much better, right?
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, and these
Well,
are,
you think about because they're multitasking every day. They're trying to juggle the nutrition, the weight room, the film studies, the practice time, the individual development time. But yet, so how do they juggle that with a personal relationship? But yet, if they're having success and they're seeing results, well, they're going to be happier in their personal life because now it's all kind of come together for them.
exactly, exactly. So things are coming together. They just have better, demeanor, and they're kinder,
There you
and
go. Yeah,
the
yeah. So
brain
their
is
their
sharper.
confidence is growing. Yeah.
Yeah, and a funny thing too, with all the student athletes in college, all their GPAs keep going up. So unless they already had like a 3.8 or above, it's like we always see a trend where they go from like a 3.1 to like a 3.8 or a 3.9. You know,
Wow.
and yeah.
Wow. See that those are great results because think about it. Everything is outcome oriented. I mean, we all want to be successful. Average is just as close to failure as it is to success. And if I'm able to take myself from a C plus to a B plus, well, now I'm feeling better about myself, which is going to give me confidence in other aspects of my
Right.
life. I mean,
Yeah.
I know I sound like an infomercial here, but I just want to make sure I'm asking the right questions to do what you do justice.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you've been asking great questions. It's been insightful, I thought.
Great. Well, we've got less than 10 minutes here.
Okay.
Give us some more examples of maybe a young athlete that you've worked with and some results that you have seen, even if they aren't giant results. And it's just like minimal steps in that ladder to help them achieve the ultimate outcome of their goals.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I mean, we could take some basketball players. So young ones. So let's go to a young athlete. So a high school player. I can think of one right now where he came in thinking, I don't know if this is going to help that much. He figures it's going to help, so he's willing to try. But then he starts saying, "Whoa, I'm coming back from every every game in practice saying I don't know what's going on. I'm playing out of my mind out there." And his parents keep thanking me like, you don't really know what this is doing for our kid. He
Yeah.
is a better kid around the house. He's, a happier kid. He's getting into less trouble. He's
Yeah. Yeah.
but he's also playing like incredibly well. He's just very good at finding open. He's a point guard, so he's finding open
Again,
players.
that spatial awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's just that overall, it's helping his game, but that's not what his parents are most concerned about.
Right, yeah, sure. And see, and again, I like that because as parents, we all want to see our children be happy. We all want to see our children have success. We all, you know, strive to be better parents. And it sounds like, something like this could even be conducive for a parent who's just trying to run a household or just a
Right.
small family business.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, in fact, his parents were so convinced that it worked that they both got on board and they're both doing it. So,
Wow. See,
yeah.
that's great stuff. And again, you're located in Denver, but yet
Mhm.
because of technology and being able to connect with people from around the globe, you're able to have a Zoom meeting with
Right.
somebody and then customize a specific set of drills or things that people can do to start having patterns so they can make adjustments for themselves. Describe what that initial meeting looks like when someone reaches out to you.
Yeah. Well, first I want to have a meeting where I kind of explain, hey, Steph Curry's been doing neuro. Now I don't work with Steph Curry, but you've probably seen the viral videos of him with the goggles on where he's dribbling two different kinds of balls, right? That's a neuro drill. That's not my neuro drill, so I don't use that one, but I have a lot of other proprietary neuro drills. So I explained Steph Curry and Tom Brady, and I explained that Michael Jordan at the peak of his career, used some strobe specs, and then they realized, okay, so neuro is not way out there. It's what the best players want to do to get better. And then, then I walk through like how my program works. The whole can you commit a half hour 5 days a week? And once they're sold, then we have our first meeting. And our first meeting is when I teach all the drills, and that's the meeting that takes the longest because I have to teach them all the drills. And that's the one that usually goes a little over an hour. But after that, like our week 2, week 3, week 4, they're usually about half hour or less. We can get through the program pretty quickly.
See, and to me, if a person out there is watching this and if they're interested and if you are result driven and you want positive outcomes and you want to be a better baseball player, a better hockey goalie, a better football player, a better CEO of a company, I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So, yes, a lot of the accountability is on them, and the performance and outcomes are going to be driven by them. But if someone truly wants to do this and they stay focused and dedicated to it, it sounds like only great things are going to happen.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, but it's true. What you're saying is absolute truth.
Yeah. Oh, and I guess I'm able to say that easy because of my experience.
Yeah,
I've traveled around the globe and I've been in countries where, there's a different culture, there's a different language, but yet
right.
we all were trying to be better. And I always wanted to empower my athletes with tools to empower them to be better players or better skilled, or to at least give them longevity so they can provide for their family longer. And to me, if neuro skills can be a part of that process to
Right.
help them with longevity and have desired outcomes to reach incentive bonuses, how could they not go this route?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to lose, really. I mean, you can't you can't go wrong by working out your brain, right?
Right.
No negative effects.
Yeah, but
So,
see, I think that's such a piece that is people condition their bodies all the time. And I
right,
mean, they're in there pounding the weights and they're doing foot drills and they're doing, plyometrics and isometrics and kinetic types of energy things. But yet, why aren't they utilizing the brain? Because the brain is how those messages are being sent through synapses to the body.
right.
You gotta work out the brain as much, but yet
Yeah.
people forget that important component.
Yeah, and every player I work with, they're like, "I wish I had done this sooner," or I don't get why everyone's always working out their body when it's really your brain controls everything you do. It should be the most important workout. And the higher the level of athlete that I work with, the more that they tell me, this is what the elites do. They work out their brains. Like they hardly even work out as much with their body. And not saying don't work out with your body,
Right,
but
right.
like why burn out your muscles when it's really your brain that's going to do most of your athletic skills.
And what a way to gain a competitive edge, Nathan. Because I've said for years, the elite athlete that NBA player is in the top 1%. But if
Right,
you can be in that top 1%, and if you train your brain and get the responses that you need through mapping or your neuro skills, oh my goodness, the game is so mental. So if you can subconsciously be stronger mentally,
right.
man, everything else is going to fall into place as long as you put forth that effort and do these drills like you customize for these individuals. Again, it just intrigues me. That's why when we connected on LinkedIn, I'm like, I want to have you on as a guest because to me, people are missing this major component.
Yeah, absolutely. They are missing it. And if you're watching and you're not doing it, I mean, it's definitely something you can do to get better. There's no doubt about it. Like you can get better.
Yeah, and I like that. So, in the last 2 minutes, share with the viewers why this is so important.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's not the end all, but it's the great enhancer. So if you want to do anything, if you want to become really not just good at something, but if you want to be great at something, this is going to set you apart, right? And so if you want to maximize your full potential, not just, have regrets someday and say, there's probably more I could have done. um, Neuro is going to make sure that you maximize the best you can out of your mind and body, right? And you will become the best version of yourself that you possibly can be. That doesn't mean that you're going to be Michael Jordan. There's only one Michael Jordan, and he did neuro. And so that's why he's the greatest of all time there. But like, um, if you have a lot of potential and you want to maximize that, then you want to do neuro, but you also want to work with great coaches like Coach Scott. You want to find as many great coaches as you can, and you want to do neuro so you can enhance everything that those coaches are giving you.
See, and I like that. I like how you specify enhance. So take what you've already got, those God-given skills, those God-given abilities, those innate things that you already do, and if you want to enhance them again, reach out to my man Nathan. Nathan, again, let them know one more time where they can find you.
Thank you, Scott. So I'm at neuroskillscoach.com. So all you have to do is go to the website neuroskillscoach.com, and you'll be able to set up an appointment with me there. You'll find my phone number on there. You can text me, just whatever you want. Just contact me, and we can individualize a program for you.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Coach Scott Fields. You've been watching another edition of the Coach Scott Fields Show. We're peeling that onion. Not only have we talked, with great players and great front office executives on this show, I mean, now we're talking with a neuro skills coach who kind of gave you an appetizer before the entree. And I'm going to tell you what, if you guys don't eat this stuff up, shame on you because we're kind of giving you a pathway to be more successful. I hope that you guys take advantage of this. Share this content for others. Reach out to my man, Nathan. I hope this will help, empower you to be a better version of you and enhance what you already do. Nathan, God bless you and thank you for being on the show, buddy.
Thank you, Coach. God bless you, Scott.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned as we continue to bring great guests, great content. And you know what? Reach out to Nathan and his wife and see if they can't help you. It's a small investment in you, but if you don't invest in you, who's going to do it for you? So, hey, take advantage of it and empower yourself with the knowledge and the experience and the expertise that Nathan can provide. I wish you all the best, and see you soon here for another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show. Nathan, I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, brother.